Hello, everybody. We'll make a start in a minute. So if you just make yourself comfortable, just make sure there's minimal distraction, making your phones on silent or just putting them on vibration. Just to let you know, remind you that this event is live streamed via YouTube. Everybody's mics and mics and videos are off anyway. So nothing else will be shared personal. It's just this guided meditation. At the end, you can ask any questions if you wish to, but just to let you know, it is live streamed, or you can always leave a message in the chat at the end. So today's session will be roughly 40 minutes or so. I'm not sure. We just go by the flow of it, and roughly around 40-45 minutes. And so yeah, if you're disconnected at any point, you can connect back onto this session using the link in the meetup, and also the passcode, or you can just connect onto YouTube on our YouTube channel. It's live streamed on there at the moment as well. Okay, so for those of who are new and on the YouTube live stream, so meditation is basically bringing our attention and recognizing our inner essence, our true nature. So recognizing who we are beyond the sense of identity, beyond the mental, psychological self-image we have of ourselves, and recognizing our existential presence, which is always here, is unchanging, which is ever present. So recognizing that unchanging space, that dimension of oneself, which does not change. The thoughts change, the identity, body, everything else changes. But this sense of just being, existing, which is just unchanging, present. So techniques are used, meditation techniques, different techniques are used to come to that space. Initially, the techniques are about concentrating the attention on a particular object, just to bring the attention in instead of the attention moving off to the impressions in the world or to thoughts. So we start to focus our attention first, just as we do the breath today. We're focusing our attention, concentrating on the breath, and then it goes deeper to bringing the attention deeper within oneself, and to for the mind, once it becomes like a mirror, it starts to reflect that inner consciousness, that inner state of being, and then there's that recognition and that abiding in that space of being in one's natural state, and that is meditation. The natural state of life or existence is meditation. Is just being who you are. It's just coming into that space of being. And so in today's technique, we'll be using three different techniques. So I've done it in three different ways. So to take people from who's just starting out in meditation, just focusing on the breath, and then who's going deeper into the energetic side of it as well, focusing on third eye, and then that self-inquiry and contemplative inquiry, and looking deeper than just meditation as a practice, but as recognizing, finding out who you are and your own existential truth. So it's in that way. It's structured. If any technique, just say you want to stay with the breath for the entire session, that's fine. You can stick with the breath. If you wish to follow my guided instructions, you can do what you feel comfortable, and use the space and use the energy of the space to support your own meditation practice. Okay, so now, yes, we'll be making a start. Make yourself comfortable, using any cushions, blankets, or anything you wish to. Some people lie down, but if you, it is too good to keep your sort of back straight, spine straight, just so you keep alert and attentive. Um, it's not like a sound bath where we go to sleep. Try to keep that sense of attentiveness and alertness, and being aware of our experience. But some of you, if you can't sit for long and you need to lie down or anything, change your posture, please do so. Okay, so we'll just make a start. So just closing your eyes in your own time. And just first starting with the breath awareness meditation. First, we just bring our attention to the nostril area. And as we inhale, we can feel a sensation of air coming in the nostril as we inhale. And as we exhale, we feel that sensation of air moving back out the nostril. So now we just allowing our attention to be at this space, this nostril area with our attention there. We're just observing the breath, just being a witness to the breath. You'll feel that sensation of air passing through the nostril as you inhale and exhale. Inhaling, watching the breath. Exhaling, watching the breath. You don't need to alter or change your breathing in this technique. You don't need to hold your breathing, lengthen your breathing in any way. It's just to watch, simply watch the breathing as it is. The breathing is naturally occurring moment to moment. It's just simply just to watch, just focus your attention on the nostril area and just to be aware, just to have that attentive awareness where you're just watching that sensation of air coming in and out the nostril. Automatically, when you bring your conscious awareness to the breath, you'll find you sort of try to alter it in some way, or just by being aware of it, you change the breath in some way. And that's okay. But with time, you'll sort of just be able to watch the breath as it is, as it just naturally comes in and out. And you won't interfere with it or try to change it in any way. You'll just be able to just see it as it is. And that same skill we take further down the line as well, as we learn to watch our thoughts as well. Instead of interfering and interacting with it, we can start to just observe them. So slowly with the practice, first starting with the breath and just watching the breath, then we can learn to watch thoughts, emotions without always reacting to them. So first starting with the breath, with your attention at the nostril area, watching the breath coming in and out. Whenever your attention is not with the breath, if your attention is with some thought in this moment, or some sensation in the body, or some sense impression coming from the senses, just be aware of where your attention is in the moment. If it's not with the breath, where is it? If it's with some thought, you may find a part of your identity is sort of identifying, reacting to that thought. If that's occurring, just be aware of that. Be aware of that some inner narrative, which may be creating a story within oneself. Just be aware of that. Take, take a step back and just see that you're witnessing this thought and how part of your mind may be interacting with that thought, reacting to that thought. Just be aware of that. And then bring your attention back to the nostril area, bring your attention back to the breath. Watching the breath coming in, watching the breath going out. And as your concentration deepens, you may notice the breath predominantly coming out, in and out through the left or right nostril. And this changes with time. You may notice you feel more sensation in the right nostril or left nostril. Just taking a moment and just seeing now. Where do you feel that sensation of air the most? The left, right nostril, or both the nostrils? Do you feel that sensation lower down the nostril near the upper lip area or higher up the nostril? Just take a moment and just be aware. And wherever you feel the breath the most, try to focus your attention down at that space, lower up the nostril, higher up the nostril, or left or right nostril. Try to sort of focus in your attention without straining too much. If you find yourself straining your attention, then just be aware of the breath through the entire nostril area. However, if you can do in a relaxed way, just focusing down your attention to the spot where you feel the breath the most. And just be aware at that space in the nostrils. Be aware of that sensation of air coming in and out. Notice where your attention is in this moment. It's okay if your attention is moving here and there. It's a chance for during this practice to become aware, to become self-conscious of where your attention keeps moving to, the different thoughts, patterns, emotions, inner narratives we give our attention and energy to. So just noticing now where your attention is. Is it with the breath? Is it with some thought, sensation, emotion, sense impression? Is it with some inner narrative, some story playing out through thought? Just take a step back and just be aware in this moment. Where is your attention? And not to suppress that experience if your attention is moving to some thought, pleasant or unpleasant, or some emotion, pleasant, unpleasant, not to suppress it in any way, that experience, but just to be aware in this moment, just as you can be aware of the breath without sort of judging it, without analyzing it, just seeing it. The breath is just a natural phenomenon just coming in and out. Also, just seeing these thoughts and emotions as just a natural movement of the mind, just to be aware of it. And just to see how a part of your identity may be catching on, latching on to certain thoughts and emotions, to certain narratives, being aware of that, how you may be reacting to certain experiences, maybe pushing away certain unpleasant thoughts, emotions, sensation, or holding on to pleasant ones. Just being aware of that. And then bring your attention back to the breath. And again, watching the breath coming and out in your own rhythm. And slowly it develops this quality of just being aware wherever your attention is with the breath, or if your attention moves to some thought, you recognize this, it opens up a space of awareness or presence where whatever the experience may be, you recognize a deeper space within oneself is just simply aware, simply present. Is simply witnessing whatever experience arises. The habitual part of the mind is what sort of interacts with these thoughts, creates a story around these thoughts, gets lost in these thoughts. And that part of the mind is also just another thought itself. Where we start to touch into a deeper layer within oneself, just simply this present aware, deeper space within oneself, watching the breath coming in and out, watching the movement of attention, watching the movement of thoughts, emotions coming and going. And slowly, as you go deeper in the practice, it's not like you're consciously watching first. It's initially we sort of consciously witnessing, or there's some effort, intention to watch or to observe the breath or observe a thought. But slowly, it becomes effortless where we find that space within ourselves, which is naturally just aware. There's a natural sense of awareness. And that awareness is not lost, it's ever present. And as you focus on the breath, as you focus your attention on one single object, naturally your attention starts to become concentrated. Naturally, your mind starts to slow down. The thoughts per second start to slow down, and you experience more space in between the thoughts, and you experience more silence within oneself. And you feel a deep relaxation in the body and mind as you start to experience that space which holds thoughts, that space, that gap in between thoughts, instead of habitually chasing the attention, shifting to each and every thought, each and every experience, continually engaging, losing its energy. Instead, you come back into that space of just being, that presence in which thoughts and experiences come and go. So now we'll be moving to the second part of the meditation, the third eye meditation. If you wish to carry on with the breath awareness, then do so. If you're new to meditation, if you wish to follow the next instructions, you can do. If at any point you want to come back to the breath, then come back to the breath. And so I will be still being aware of the breath. But as you breathe in, you're starting to feel the breath as a flow of energy. As you breathe in, you're feeling as though you're taking fresh life energy is coming in through the nostrils and feeling that energy rising up to the point in between the eyebrows. And as you exhale, instead of following the breath downwards, just allowing your attention to rest at this space in between the eyebrows. So now, still with the breath, breathing in, feeling as though you're breathing in fresh new energy up to the point in between the eyebrows. And as you breathe out, just allowing your attention and energy to rest and gather at this space in between the eyebrows, this space in between the eyebrows. Just allowing your attention and energy to gather at this space. Breathing in, feeling your attention and energy moving to the space in between the eyebrows. Breathing out, just allowing your attention to penetrate into the space. Move inwards from the space in between the eyebrows. Feeling as though you're looking inwards from this space in between the eyebrows. Breathing in, breathing in fresh new energy. Feeling your attention and energy rise up to the point in between the eyebrows. Breathing out, resting your attention and energy at the point in between the eyebrows. Feeling as though you're looking in from this point in between the eyebrows, looking into the center of the brain, into oneself. Also, with your eyes closed, you can also feel your physical eyes sort of being drawn in, gazing upwards into the space, up into the point in between the eyebrows. You may feel that if at any point you feel any tension at this point, just sort of relax your attention, come back to the breath if you need to. But when you feel your attention is sort of resting at this space in between the eyebrows, then you can stop this technique of following the breath. You can stop visualizing the breath as a flow of energy, and instead then just bringing your attention and resting your attention at this space in between the eyebrows, and just allowing your attention and energy to gather at this space in between the eyebrows. This being the third eye, the inner eye, like our physical eyes look out into the world. This inner eye is to perceive the inner dimensions of oneself. And through this inner eye, we can connect to the deeper dimensions, the formless dimensions of oneself. We can connect to that inner space, inner presence, which is unchanging, which is boundless and infinite. Through the third eye, we can connect to that dimension, also connect to our own intuition, wisdom, can start to perceive our experience from a higher perspective, start to see many perspectives around a particular experience, start to see things in a detached way where we can start to see it and perceive it from many angles. And we start to perceive through every experience, recognizing experience itself, thought, emotion, sensation. It's just a moving phenomenon. It's continually changing, is temporary in nature. We start to gain insight, wisdom into the nature of experience and deeper into the nature of oneself. So just allowing your attention to rest at this space in between the eyebrows, feeling as though you're gazing upwards to this space in between the eyebrows and feeling that pull inwards, feeling as though you're looking in from the space in between the eyebrows into the center of the brain, and then deeper, deeper, looking as though you're feeling looking into the space inside one's body, and then beyond the body, you're starting to connect to just a sense of a space of being, a space of just being present, aware, connecting to your inner space, inner unchanging space within oneself, connecting to your inner consciousness, your inner stillness, silence, and still as you gaze inwards from the point in between the eyebrows into your inner space, just recognizing that sense of awareness is still present. That same sense of awareness, as you are aware of the breath, as you do this technique, you still there's that same sense of just being aware of witnessing. Just looking inward and just allowing any experience may come up, any thoughts may come up, emotions, sensations. Just being aware of any experience you're having in this moment. not suppressing it anyway, but just looking, feeling as though you're looking inwards from the space in between the eyebrows, looking in and just observing as experience comes up, just observing that experience, that thought appearing. You may paint some picture within one's inner space. You may move and create some form within one's inner space through thought, images, memory, past, future. And then in their own time, that thought may dissolve back into one's inner space. You may also find your sense of identity sort of identifying, catching on to certain thoughts, emotions, and sort of reacting to them. If you recognize that, just be aware of that from the third eye and just look at that experience. Just look at that thought, emotion. Just look at that sense of identity which is reacting to that thought, emotion. Just look at that inner story is creating, inner belief is creating within oneself. Just look at it, be present to it without pushing it away. And just seeing it as another form of experience, movement of experience within oneself. Knowing that it's only a small movement within one's inner space, that inner dimension of oneself is infinite, boundless. It's a small movement, a small appearance within oneself appears and disappears back into one's inner space. So from the third eye, we're in that space where we're just observing whatever's occurring within oneself, observing from the point in between the eyebrow, connecting to that inner space, and from that inner space, just aware, just watching any experience come and go. And also when there's no experience, just resting in that sense of space, in that inner silence within oneself. When there's no thought, no experience, but just a sense of just being. Just feeling as though we're watching a projection, a movie within oneself, a movement of thoughts, identity, emotion, sensation, impression, sense impressions, all occurring within one's inner space. And these experiences are continually coming and going. Just watching them and recognizing that inner truth that all experiences arise and pass within oneself. No experience is permanent. No thought, emotion is permanent. Continually changing, coming and going. Only your attention sometimes hooks on and focuses in on a certain thought or emotion. And then your perception also narrows and only perceives that thought or emotion to the exclusion of everything else. And then your own sense of identity wraps itself around this thought or emotion, gets caught up in its energy field, and reacts. So slowly to go away from, move away from this unconscious reactive state of being So just bringing more awareness, conscious awareness first to these patterns within oneself. And then to slowly recognize that inner dimension of oneself, which is unchanging, which is ever present, which is beyond thought. So now we'll be moving to the third part of the meditation, the self-inquiry, contemplation, the inner looking within oneself. So if you wish to now, you can drop the breath technique, you can drop the third eye technique, and just to simply just sit and just be. If you wish to carry on with the practice, you can do. If not, just simply just observe what's happening within oneself in this moment. Is your attention with the breath? Is your attention with the third eye? Is your attention with some thought, some sound, some sensation? Where's your attention? And just be aware of that experience you're having in this moment. And then recognize, turn your attention, instead of your attention continually focus on the movement of experience, on that particular thought or experience. Bring your attention to that sense of just being aware. So there's a sense of awareness, that space of awareness, presence. And within that space, there's this experience. And the attention sort of moves to that experience. Now, instead of the attention with that experience, turn that attention 180 degrees and just recognize this sense of just being aware, this sense of just awareness or presence here and now. It doesn't matter what experience you may be having, pleasant, unpleasant, thought or emotion. But in this moment, there's this sense of just being aware. There's this awareness of this experience, and then there's just this awareness itself. Instead of focusing on the experience which arises within one's inner space, you're connecting to that sense of space itself, that space in which these experiences come and go. If there's thought, there's still awareness of the thought. If there's no thought, there's simply awareness, aware of itself. So just feel as though you're just sitting here, not particular focusing on any object. And if you don't focus your attention, if you don't allow yourself to identify and latch onto any thought or experience, your attention naturally starts to move back, withdraw inwards into this space of awareness, this space of presence. Simply being aware in this moment, a certain thought may sort of appear within oneself and sort of that will start the chain of thinking again. Just start to be alert, attentive, aware as you just rest in your own silence. Just aware of thoughts which may appear within oneself. And then if you latch on, your attention latches onto that thought, you'll create a chain of thinking. Instead of latching onto that thought, you just be aware, just remain as that awareness itself. Just start to abide in that space of just being. Recognizing a space, recognizing that oneself is beyond a thought. Even if there's no thought or impression from the outside, you still exist. That you're part of existence, part of life itself, not separate from life or separate individual, which is different from life, your life itself. As you recognize this sense of just being aware of existing here and now, beyond thought, there's no sense of separation, there's no sense of distance, there's no sense of time, space. You just simply are in this moment. Only when you connect to thought, creates this sense of past, future, sense of identity, me. If you don't latch onto that, you still recognize beyond your sense of identity and the self-image you create of yourself, you still exist beyond that. The identity is continually changing in nature, changes with time, experience, beliefs, circumstances. But there's a part of you which doesn't change. And that part of you is present here and now, is not somewhere in the future to be recognized, but is here and now. To recognize that source, that essence of oneself, that inner truth of who you are. So who are you in this moment? If you don't refer to any thought, and don't let that question move yourself into more thought about who you may be. These are all relative aspects of oneself, but who are you in essence, the very core? You don't hold on to any thought about the past or future. Who are you in this moment? Their attention just absorbs into this space of just being, sense of just being presence, presence itself. And this is sense of just awareness, consciousness, aware of itself. Recognizing that stillness, that silence, that peace which is one's own nature. As you recognize who you are beyond thought and attention abide in that space, there's a natural peace, natural presence, natural state of meditation, natural state of being. You realize who you are beyond time, beyond space, beyond identity. There's no sense of separation with anything. Only sense of separation exists as we jump back into the habitual conditioned part of the mind and identity. And this part of the identity can still play its role through this life, through this expression of life. But the identity can just serve as a mask, play out its role. You don't have to be stuck to that mask. You can recognize who you are beyond that mask of identity, which you're conditioned to believe who you are. You recognize who you are in this moment, that place of freedom, peace, presence within oneself, which is everything, which is existence itself, which is life itself. And allow that expression of energy to flow uniquely from this space of being intuitively. Instead of being stuck by the identities, rigid thought of how things should be, or projection of the future, how it should be. And this is a slow process where once you recognize who you are in this moment beyond the identity, slowly the conditioned ways of being, conditioned emotions, thought patterns, beliefs slowly start to dissolve into that presence. And that presence is felt more and more in daily life as oneself. And then still life can move and express in its own creative ways, but everything is felt and seen as just the expression of that life within oneself, the formless moving into form and the form moving back into the formless being. And so now we'll be just finishing with the meditation. So bringing now your attention back to the breath, bringing your attention back to that body consciousness, scanning your attention from the top of the head down to the toes, watching the breath, and then just releasing any excess energy down the legs, down into the earth, grounding oneself, and feeling the energy of the earth rising up through the feet, up the spine, supporting the body, and then slowly in your own time, moving your attention to the external senses, to the sense of taste, touch, smell, sound, gently moving the body, and then opening your eyes in your own time, opening your eyes in your own time. And if anybody has any questions, you can ask now, but do remember that it's live stream, so anything you say maybe shared on YouTube as well at the moment. If you wish to leave a message in the chat, you can leave a message in chat and I can answer question any by that. Also, you can always contact me personally via email or WhatsApp or through Meetup. Yeah, it did not feel like 45 minutes. Yeah. Yeah, time sort of flows by. I think it was about roughly 42 minutes, yeah, something roughly around that time. Yeah, but it goes fast. um yeah, so make sure you just take some some water, some food, fruit, and as it is a process, many thoughts, emotions may be sort of released in that space as well, so just be aware of that and give yourself that time and space if necessary. Is there any more questions? Or thank you, Sunny. Yeah, so this session will be recorded on YouTube and shared on Facebook as well. So there you can, replay, watch it anytime. Thank you. And all my other videos from the previous meditations as well uh, are also available, on YouTube and on Facebook. And so you can, connect in your own time and do the guided meditations yourself. Um, we'll be doing another session next Sunday. Also, every Wednesday I do a one-to-one session for free. Just look at Meetup and you can find, more information about everything else. Okay. Okay. Thanks a lot. Thank you, everybody. Yes, Gina, you can message me. Yes. Okay, then. See you guys. Bye bye.
Pardon, Priyesh, I didn't catch what you said.
Oh, it's just I think I've sent you a message via Meetup. I'm not sure if you've seen it or not. Tuesday, if that's good. I've sent some times, 5, 6 o'clock. I'm free. Just you can give me a message. Yeah.
Yeah, can you do any other day apart from Tuesday?
This week I'm sort of busy at the moment. Thursday, maybe Friday I can possibly do. Let me check my calendar and I'll let you know because I've got a few sessions on Monday and Wednesday and Thursday. I'm in London. So maybe Friday, Saturday, I might be available.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, that'll be lovely. All
Uh,
right.
Friday,
Okay.
yeah, I'm free on Friday. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that should be
Okay.
fine. Yeah,
Okay then.
wonderful. All right.
Okay then.
Thanks,
Thanks a lot.
darling.
Take care.
Thank
Enjoy the rest
you.
of your day, guys.
And
Bye bye.
you. Bye bye.